Hello crafty friends, it's Heather Rui here and I'm back with another video for you. Today we will be making the Slimline Trifold Scene Changing card. I just love cards that have unexpected surprises, and this one opens up to reveal a different scene. So let's see it in action. The front is a stormy scene that says, "Hello friend, let's walk together in the rain and splash in life's puddles." And when you open it up, it's a sunny day with a greeting of "Thanks for supporting me every single day." It opens up again to reveal another coordinating sentiment as well as a place to write a message. So to make this card, you will need 2 card bases. I used the Slimline card bases from Simon Says Stamp. I will put the measurements of those card bases on the screen. However, I did cut about 2 1/4 inches off the inside panel of one of the cards, the one on the left. I did this so it will fit into my die cutting machine when we create the window. You don't have to trim off any of the card if you have a larger die cut machine like the Impress, but for today's video, I wanted to show the regular die cut machine because that is what most people have. I cut a blue slimline panel for the card base on the left and a yellow slimline panel for the card base on the right. They were cut with the largest rectangle from the Slimline Nested Rectangles die set. That set is linked below as well as other supplies used on this card. First, we are going to create the Stormy Scene panel. I will be using a few saturated inks from Simon Says Stamp. These inks are a dye ink with a raised foam pad and they are fabulous for ink blending, and I just love the color selection. I started with the color Seafoam and placed that in the ink stand. If you're not familiar with the ink stand, it is a tool that holds your ink in place when ink blending. I applied the ink through the stencil using a blending brush and then went back a second time with surf saturated ink and used a bitty blending brush and applied the darker ink towards the bottom of each raindrop to add a bit of dimension. While I'm working, I like to keep my blending brush in this brush tool caddy to keep them up off my work surface and not spread ink in the places I don't want. Next, I die cut the coordinating die from the Kindred Spirit stamp set towards the bottom of the panel. I held the blue panel onto the white card base, the one that I trimmed down the inside flap on, and traced along it with a pencil as a guide to place my die. You could always die cut both panels at the same time, but I wanted to show this option as well. I adhered the blue panel on top, lining up the opening. I stamped a sentiment using stamps from the Friend Greeting stamp set as well as the Kindred Spirit stamp set. I had these sentiments already set up in my larger Misty since I made this card prior to filming. I'm really loving the larger memory Misty for mass producing and stamping larger size cards like this Slimline card. However, you can also stamp this size in the regular Misty or use an acrylic block. For the cloud die, I wanted to add interest and texture, so I first die cut the Detail Swirls plate die, and then I cut a cloud shape from the nested cloud die set from it. I trimmed down the cloud die and added another solid piece behind for dimension, and because I wanted the holes in the pattern to have white behind them instead of the blue. To finish up the blue panel, I stamped the puddle images from the same stamp set using ocean ink. Now let's create the inside panel. I applied sunshine ink through the Slimline Sun Rays stencil onto the yellow Slimline panel. I'm blending on a stencil mat because I like that it grabs the paper and helps hold it in place, and the cleanup is quick and easy. Next, I stamped a sentiment in the center of the sun and adhered it to the card base. Notice that I adhered it on with the opening of the card facing left instead of right. This is important to make the trifold design work. I stamped a sentiment on the inside of the yellow panel card base, but I messed it up, so I'm going to show you later how to fix that, because there is no way that I'm starting over at this point. Now it's time to adhere the 2 card bases together. I added adhesive to the small inside flap of the blue card base and adhered it to the back of the yellow card base. I went ahead and stamped, Copic colored, and cut out the images from the Kindred Spirit stamp set off camera to save a little time. To adhere the main image in place and to line it up with the window opening, I applied liquid glue to the back and laid it in place flat in the opening of the window and then shut the card onto it. I suggest using liquid glue for this so you can wiggle it into place if it doesn't line up perfectly. I adhered a few butterfly images and then cut a 1-inch strip of gray cardstock for the bottom to ground the image. I could have done this before adhering the image down, but I wanted it to be cut out around the image. So I temporarily adhered it in place and then laid the die on top of the image so I could cut it in the right spot. Now to fix the stamping on the inside. I die cut a white rectangle from the Stitch Rectangles die set and stamped the same sentiment on top. I adhered it right on top of the messed up stamping, and now no one will ever know. I finished it off with a few butterfly images to tie everything together. To finish off this project, I stamped a coordinating friend sentiment on the flap of a yellow Slimline envelope. I also added some crystal glaze to the puddle on the blue panel to give some shine and dimension. So there you have it, a Slimline trifold scene-changing card. I hope I've inspired you to give this a try. Leave a comment down below if you've ever tried a trifold card design before. Before I go, I want to leave you with some video notes. This is something I've recently introduced that I will be doing in the future to wrap everything up. I hope this video has inspired you to combine stamp sets to create custom sentiments. It's such a great way to get more use of your supplies. This also goes for dies. I used 2 dies to create the cloud on today's example. Alter the design to fit your style. I know some people may not like creating slimline cards or to use the trifold design. You can alter the scene-changing element to fit your favorite card size. You can also create a scene-changing card without the trifold element. I will link in the description below to an A2 size card that I created that changes scenes and has a typical opening. Use your coordinating dies for more than just cutting out your images. They are great for making windows like in today's example. Try personalizing the images for the recipient. I was thinking specifically of who I was making this for and made it look like her and me. It can also be as simple as incorporating the recipient's favorite color. Don't forget the envelope. We spend so much time on our cards, but we often forget about the envelope. Just doing a little stamping on the flap of an envelope can really tie everything together and make it extra special. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I appreciate you and your support. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe. I'll be back soon with another video. Have a great day. Bye.